Hi Eddie, good morning. Can we just start with an update on Alexander Isak, how he is, and is he in your squad for Liverpool?
Well, he took a knock to his hip, wasn't able to carry on. We haven't seen him in training yet. Don't think it's a long-term injury. We'll wait and see.
With an impact injury like that, or low impact injuries can be serious, is it just a case of rest for him over the weekend?
Yeah, it'll be time. It'll be pain management and how quickly the injury settles down.
And what about any other players? Because I think you said after Crystal Palace that Dan Burns been carrying a problem. So how is he, and are there any other knocks?
Yeah, Dan got through the game really well, I have to say. I mean, when he got suspended, we used that as a chance to try and rest his ankle and get it 100% fit. Get him 100% fit, but he had a mixed time in that period where he didn't play. As in, he didn't feel right. He's been to see a couple of specialists. Really minimal training time. I thought he was outstanding, all things considered, against Crystal Palace. And after the game, he felt okay.
When you've looked back at Crystal Palace and what happened on Saturday, since the game finished, what have you learned? What conclusions have you reached?
Well, I'm still replaying that last couple of minutes in my head, and also just the little things that we got wrong in that goal, which would have been a massive win for us. But it didn't happen, and we have to accept that. And we didn't defend across well enough. Ultimately, that's cost us the game right at the end of the match. I thought the performance was okay defensively. I thought there was certain aspects of the performance with the ball that was good until the final third. The final third, I thought we were poor.
In other matches, when the goals haven't come, there have tended to be quite a lot of chances that you've had that you haven't taken. It felt different on Saturday. Why do you think that is, and what's the solution?
Yeah, I think when you go back the last two games we've had West Ham, where we created a lot of chances, especially in that first 60 minutes, and thought we looked like a really good team. We didn't take them. Crystal Palace was different, but in some senses, what I said after the game, once we'd scored and we were leading the game, we'd done our job to that point. As much as we still want to score and we want to go 2-0, the game had never been a free-flowing performance from us. And if we'd won the game 1-0, we'd have said that was a brilliant sort of away day for us, where we didn't play well, but we got a great win. And we didn't defend the cross well enough, and then the whole focus comes back on sort of the performance with the ball, and our attacking output was very low. I'm not going to deny that or hide that. So certainly we're looking at a few things and trying to make tweaks.
What did you make of Liverpool and their performance against Manchester City on Sunday?
Yeah, I think very good, very strong. What a week they've had when you look at Real Madrid and then Manchester City. Two very good performances. I think they're a team at the moment playing with full confidence. They've got still sort of the hallmark of Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, but obviously Arne Slot's had his time with the team, and he's tweaked certain things, and it makes them a really difficult proposition because they've added new strengths. Players are playing well. The front players are notoriously very strong, so it's going to need to be a good defensive performance from us, and certainly we're going to have to pose them questions the other way as well.
And it's not as if your team haven't played well against Liverpool, but you've not managed to get that result against them. It's been a long time since any Newcastle team won against Liverpool. Even though players and managers and teams change, can it become a psychological thing against one opponent, one other club?
Well, let's hope not. I mean, I don't think so. Certainly from my viewpoint, I don't prepare the game that way. I prepare the game to try and win with a fresh set of eyes every time you play a new opponent or an opponent, because teams change and evolve, as I said, every time you play them. I think the games we've had against them have been, as you say, they've been tight. Especially the home games have been really difficult losses for us to take. The last one was a painful one that we remember from last year. But I think every time you play an opponent like Liverpool, you learn new things. I think it'd be a great occasion. Love playing under the lights at St James's Park. I'm sure it'd be a great atmosphere, and we need to create that to make it uncomfortable as we can for them.
Thank you. Thanks, Reza. Nick, Sky Sports.
Hi, Eddie.
How difficult was it to pick up the players after the result at the weekend? I mean, matches obviously coming around very quickly. Is it difficult to psych them up for the Liverpool game, or is that one of those games that you sort of naturally feel excited about?
Yeah, if we have to, motivate the players for this game, there's something wrong, and we won't have to. I think the players will be knowing that the dangers that Liverpool possess, and that in some sense heightens your senses. But also there's an excitement about the game, and there's an opportunity for us to grow and attack a game like this will be a brilliant thing, and I think we can go into the game with confidence. Although you can look at results in loads of different ways, I think generally our performances have been improving as the season's gone on, and we always try to play at home with no fear.
And obviously Liverpool pulling away at the top of the league. I mean, do you see this as a bit of a? I don't suppose a manager can ever see it as a bonus match, but I mean, are you still confident the team can get a result here?
Yeah, I think we're always confident at home. I think regardless of the opponent, we have to be our best selves, and we have to learn lessons from previous games always and continue to evolve and improve. And I think very recently we beat Chelsea in the Cup, we beat Arsenal at home, so there's absolutely no reason why we can't continue that positive run. We have to view the game for what it is. We have to, as I say, nullify their threats. We have to be strong defensively, but we have to bring our strengths as well, and our strengths are unique to us. When we're playing well, I think we're a great sight in attack, and we want to see that attacking football flowing again.
And just on the FA Cup draw, I mean, any thoughts on that? I mean, obviously Bromley at home, managed by a former goalkeeping coach at the club. Do you have any sort of thoughts as to what that might be like for him?
Well, I was watching the draw yesterday, and naturally, like every Newcastle fan, I'm sure, hoping for a home draw, and we got that, which has been rare supply for us over the last couple of seasons. So it was great to see, and I think there's a nice link back there to Newcastle. So that'll be a great occasion, but we'll look forward to that when it comes around.
Thanks.
Thank you, Andy. Well, Eddie, you said on Saturday it was difficult to answer the questions about the goal scoring form, etc. I just wondered, you were talking to Razor there about how you've watched it back. It's been kind of replaying back those last couple of minutes in particular. Are you any closer, do you think, to establishing one straight answer? Is there one answer for it or not? Well,
it'd be beneficial to play with a centre forward in your team, and I think we've had that issue before this season. So with Alex's injury, that definitely disrupted our rhythm. But that wasn't our only issue. I think we had a couple of other issues as well, which, of course, when you analyse the game and you're looking to then move forward, you make the tweaks to the team and you hope that it works. And I think, like I said after the game on Saturday, goal scoring has never historically been a problem for my teams. It's usually been the other way, where we've been very front foot, very attack-minded. There certainly has been no change in our approach. We're still very front foot, we're still very attack-minded, but some things, these things just happen and they go in phases. That doesn't mean we're neglecting the fact that we're where we are, and we're not, it's obvious, we're not attacking in the fluent way that we were. So we just have to give the players confidence, and we've got some outstanding technical attacking players, some brilliant 1v1 players. We need to give them the license and the freedom to do that, and hope the confidence floods back.
At times like this, I know you get to the training ground a ridiculously early hour anyway, but do Jace, do the rest of the coaches, do you kind of put any extra work into it or not?
We're getting even earlier, and no, I think it's about giving the players confidence, genuinely. I think it's about creating the environment and the culture that they're comfortable and free, and then you'll see the best of our players. As I say, I've got no doubt in their qualities, to making them feel good and giving them the right structure to show those qualities. But it's not just about the attackers, and I think the immediate focus will always be on them, but it's about the team creating chances for them, and that includes the goalkeeper, that includes centre-halves, full-backs. We all attack together, we defend together. So it's about the whole team playing in unison. To do that, you've got to have the right feel.
I think only one team in Premier League history has had a bigger lead at this stage of the season than Liverpool have. Are they Premier League winners this season? Are they already champions-elect, do you think, in the sense that they've been already termed?
No, I think nothing's ever secure or done until it's done, and I think the Premier League is known for twists and turns. So who knows what's going to happen? I think all we can do is control our part and certainly our season is yet to be sort of set in terms of what's going to happen. I mean, we've been inconsistent. We've had highs and lows. For us, it's about trying to continue to make more highs on a consistent basis. That's what we're trying to do.
Just one final one on a more light-hearted note. I don't know if you've seen, but Bruno's yet to win a coin toss at St James's Park at home. Have you seen that? And is tomorrow night the night that he finally wins one at St James's?
Well, I'm sort of aware of it when, obviously, I won't necessarily describe it too much, what happens at that moment. And, yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, surely the law of averages says he's going to win one soon.
Cheers, Andy. Thanks, Andy. Alistair at the back.
Hi, Eddie. Some of your best performances have come against big name opposition. Do you know why that might be, and is this an opportunity to perform again, seeing as you're playing Liverpool?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that's a fair assessment. I think we have to. It's easy for us to say when you're preparing a game, treat every opposition the same and try and have the same focus for every opposition. Of course, that's our aim. We don't treat anyone any differently. And certainly our intention is to attack in a consistent way, regardless of who we're playing. But every game is different, and the challenge is different, and the atmosphere is different, the feel's different. So it's up to us to create that flow in our game. And sometimes that can come from a defensive action or a defensive moment that inspires us with the ball. So I think as long as everyone's together focusing on a really good performance, we'd be fine.
How's Kieran Trippier getting on? Is his fitness at a level where he can start? Because he helped create a lot of chances last season, didn't he? And you were talking about the whole team being part of that attacking play. So are you missing that influence? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, Trips, in line with the other players on that right-hand side, created so much for us historically. I think if you go back to our Champions League season, that was probably our most dominant side of the pitch. A lot of goals came from that side, a lot of chances were created down that side, and Kieran was pivotal to that. So we've certainly missed his attacking attributes and his range and what he brings. He's improving, I'd say, physically. I think he's been out. He hasn't really played consistently now for quite a long time. So I think getting him back in that rhythm where he can feel 100% fit will take a little bit of time. But he's certainly closer than he was. And touch wood, he's solved the hamstring issue that he had initially.
With him unavailable and with Murphy not playing as much as he did maybe last season, and Isak and Wilson not always fit, are you having to find new ways of playing, new ways of tackling these problems? Yeah, I think we're trying to find new solutions, which always happens, and the team always evolves. I think it's very rare that you look back 2 years and the team's the same as it was 2 years ago, with the same partnerships and the same players playing in those positions, because the game evolves, you evolve, oppositions evolve. So yes, we are trying to find I'll say solutions, but we're trying to build new relationships between players, and that sometimes takes a little bit of time to get the feel between each other. And you can see from the team in recent weeks, there's been little tweaks, positional tweaks, because we're trying to find a way to make us more creative and obviously create more goal-scoring opportunities. Thank you.
Thanks, Alistair. Damien?
Eddie, a few weeks ago when there was a lot of talk about contracts, you said at the time that even your big players had to be doing it on the pitch to earn those contracts and to stay in the team. But at the moment, have you got the strength in depth to be able to enforce that?
Yeah, no, I think there is strength in depth. Maybe not in every position, but certainly in some key positions, I think there is. Certainly with Callum's return, once Callum gets up to full speed, which hopefully will happen in the next few weeks, he'll add another dimension. And then we've got other players coming back in the not too distant future, like Sven Botman, adds unbelievable strength to our squad. There's a big difference maker along with Jamal, who'll be a little bit further back. So I think we're slowly getting there in terms of competition for places and strength and depth. But as I say, I don't think that runs through the whole squad, but that will take some time.
And in those positions that you don't have that strength in depth, does that strengthen your hand going into January when you go to the people above you and say, this is what I would like?
I think that's a different question. I think that's a totally different subject, January and targets and what areas of the squad we'd look to strengthen, because it's not clear-cut what we will be able to do, what we won't be able to do. So we'll wait and see on that one.
Thank you. Go to John and then Lee.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
When you look at the Premier League table, I think with the exception of Liverpool, a lot of teams have struggled for consistency. Why has your team struggled for consistency this season?
Well, yeah, again, that's not a clear one word, one sentence answer. I think the Premier League this year is very, very even in terms of quality. I think there's a lot of teams that are very strong. I think maybe in previous years there's been a bigger gap between the top teams and the other teams, and you've seen that gap in terms of the league table. But this year it's very congested, very tight, and we form part of that league at the moment where we're not being consistent enough to take ourselves away from the other teams, and we have to try and find the right solutions to find the key to find those consistent results for us. I think it says a lot about the strength of the league. Then you might come up with a whole host of arguments as to why the league's so tight this year. I'm not going to sit here and do that, but we have to focus on ourselves and make sure that we're harder to beat. We're scoring more goals. We're attacking and defending better as a group. All these things we're working on a daily basis.
Are you confident the consistency will come back, and if so, why is that?
Well, I was confident at the start of the season that our general performances would improve from a low start point for all the reasons that we've discussed in previous press conferences. I'm still anticipating that will continue, and we'll refine our missing part of our game, which is the most important part and is the hardest part, the goal scoring, the goal creativity. That is not to be taken for granted. It's something that you have to really work towards. I think we've got the players to do it. I've got no doubt we'll refine that. And once we do, I think then we're a totally different team, because I think the positive news from our start to the season is that we've been good defensively in the main. We've looked solid. In the main, we've been hard to score against, and we haven't been perfect in that respect, but that gives us a great start point and a great foundation to build from if we can refine our goal-scoring touch, which we had for the majority of my time here.
Thanks, Jordan. Go to Lee, then Craig and Luke.
Morning, Eddie. On the tactical side of it, do you feel like you just sometimes have to go back to basics and potentially just get what would be a good solid point from this game, and maybe sort of drop the attacking principles sometimes?
Ooh. No, I don't. For me, attacking that's a cliche. I won't use that one. Damien knew where I was going with it. No, for me, attacking is fundamental. It's your aim in the game. You're giving the players a purpose, and we will always attack. I make no apologies for that. I'd rather not be in the job than not fulfil that promise to the supporters. We want to entertain ultimately. We want to play attacking football that the Newcastle supporters can't wait to see. I know we're not delivering that at the moment, and that's a frustration. So, no, we're not going to drop that. We're just going to become better at it.
You mentioned the confidence or lack of confidence, whatever it is. Is that a deeper problem, or is it just one of them sort of daft things in football where someone just scores from a yard out and it just changes and it goes the other direction very quickly?
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I think it's sometimes it's just a state you can get into, a flow when you're playing well. You don't even think about it. You just attack, and we've done that for the majority of my time here. As I say, I look at some of the performances, some of the goals, some of the general play that we've delivered, and it's a beautiful thing. And sometimes when that's not clicking, it can look a little bit robotic and look a little bit forced. But the most important thing is that from my side at this moment in time, I back the players. I know their qualities. I want them to go on the pitch free, not overthinking, and playing the game that they've always loved. And I think if we do those key things, the goals will return.
Just on Callum Wilson, obviously, you've got to be very careful with him, as you say. He didn't look too happy when he didn't come on earlier in the game. I suppose that's got to be a good sign, because you want players who are desperate to do a job for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing for me is that we try as best we can is to keep Callum fit for as long as possible so he can get in his flow and his rhythm. That's not going to come back instantly. He's done very limited training with us. I think it would have been really foolish of me to put him on the pitch the other day as much as I wanted to. So it's about trying to give him the best chance to stay fit all season.
Thanks, Lee. Craig?
Morning, Eddie. You said that it's not clear cut what you can and can't do in January, but do the hierarchy have to find a way, however that is, to help you guys. It's 2 windows in a row now without even really attempting to improve the starting 11. Do the players on the inside feel that? Because there's nothing like a fresh face to not just add quality, but to bring more out of everybody else, and even you as well. Do you need help in January?
I think there's a desire from everyone at the club to deliver that. I think then you have to go to the realities of what is possible, and you have to make decisions always, as you'll understand, for the here and now, but also for the future. And we have to make sure that we don't put ourselves in a position where the summer then becomes very, very difficult to do what we need to do, or future windows beyond. So, yeah, I think freshness is important in a squad. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. I think there needs to be a certain element of trading in and out to keep the group dynamic new, because a new dynamic and a new team always has to form, I think, every season. I think sometimes the same squad can produce a staleness, can produce a negative product. So I think we're aware of that. But it's all what we're able to do, rather than our want. Our want is clear, but it's what we're able to do, I think, is the key thing.
Can I just ask about Anthony Gordon as well? Left winger, right winger, centre forward. What does he want? What do you want, and what is best for the team?
Well, I think it is about the team. It's not necessarily what Anthony wants, what I want. I think it's what the team needs. I think that's always been my thought. The players have to play where the team needs them to play. Now, Anthony, yes, he's been moved to a degree, but he has played a lot of games in his favoured position. I've always said that's his favoured position. I've got no problem saying that. And it's up to him to perform in that position when he plays there. He's played on the right and he's played well. He created the goal against Arsenal not so long ago, and possibly in that moment people were saying, well, that's his position on the right. It's never clear-cut. Good players can play in loads of different positions, as it's been proved to me many times, but it's about your attitude when you play in that position. It has to be of the best level. And I have to say, from Anthony's perspective, playing up front again on Saturday, I thought he did really well, and his attitude to that was excellent.
Thanks, Craig. Luke?
Just picking up on something that Craig said there, by every metric, every team needs their best players to be playing well consistently. By every metric, Bruno, Isak and Gordon are way down on where they were last season. Is that a concern for you?
Without talking about individual players, I think I would agree you need your best players performing at their best levels. That would naturally, especially if they're in the attacking areas of the pitch, transform your delivery. I think they are, without doubt, outstanding players. I think it's my job to try and create always the right environment for them to produce their best football. I've had several meetings with all of the players, not just the names you've mentioned, to try and get them at their best levels, to try and solve little issues that we may have to propel the team forwards. I'll continue to do that. I continue to invest every hour that I can to help the team, to help the players. But it's never as clear-cut or as simple as people may think from the outside. We have had a lot of issues this summer, and continue to have them this season, where we're not quite at our best. But I'm pretty sure with one or two moments that can easily change, and the dynamic can look very different. I think from my perspective, as long as the players give me everything that they've got, and I think those players have, by and large, given me everything, then I'm sure we'll be fine.
Whenever there's a run of slightly disappointing results at Newcastle, there tends to be criticism of the manager. How are you finding it this season, and what is your response to that criticism? For example, that you need to change system, that teams have worked out how to play against you.
Yeah, I think that I've got no doubt that criticism is out there. I think it's out there all the time, to be honest. I don't think it's whether you're winning, losing or drawing. Of course, it will be magnified, I think, if you're not performing at your best. But I think it goes with the job. I've said many times, I've got no issue with it. You expect it, you understand it, you live with it. It doesn't really change anything that I do. I mean, constantly analysing the team to see if we need to tweak things, to change things. So if anyone thinks I'm sat there going, we're just going to do the same thing week in, week out, that's nothing could be further from the truth. But you've got to be very careful that changes you make benefit you, then they don't hurt you even more. So I'm sort of very much living in that world where you've got to stick to, I think, the things that work and just try and tweak the things that aren't.
Thanks, Luke. We've got a few few to get through. We've got 5 minutes remaining. Go to George, Dominic, Kieran, and then Martin.
Hi, Eddie.
Hi, George.
When you talk about inconsistency, has there been an inconsistency to attitude as well as to performance, do you think?
No, I'm thinking deeply because I want to give you an honest answer. No, I think the body language of the team, the attitude of the team, by and large, I think has been very good. And I think there's always going to be moments in the season where that can be challenged. And I have always give honest feedback to the players when I think it's been good and when I think it hasn't been quite right. I think in the main, it's been there positively. There's been moments, absolutely. There's been moments where I've had to make it very clear what's acceptable and what's not. And that can always change. You can have a brilliant sort of example positively, and the next week it can, for whatever reason, with individuals or within the group, can just suddenly go down. So certainly something for me to be aware of, because I think that representation attitude is the best and the most important thing that we need to bring on a consistent basis.
Thanks, George. Dom?
Just on Bruno, one change you did make ahead of the season was making him captain. How do you think he's handled that, and do you expect, or do you want him to be captain for years to come?
Yeah, I think it's been a positive thing for Bruno. I think he's really embraced it behind the scenes. I think he's been very good. His conduct on and off the pitch has been of a really high level. I think naturally through time his leadership skills will develop. I think that's only natural for someone who's captain for this club for the first time, and that's a new dynamic for him amongst the players. But I couldn't be happier with how he's embraced it, how he's attacked it. And I'm sure he'll grow from this point onwards.
Kieran?
Hi. You mentioned the word stale earlier. I mean, is that your biggest fear that could happen here? I mean, how do you prevent that?
I think, I mentioned that in relation to a question, of course. Obviously mentioning that in relation to the transfer window and the fact that we haven't had a huge turnover of players. And I think that's, as I said earlier, that's a slight concern. There's always concerns in two ways. If you bring too many players in, that can have a negative impact in terms of upheaval of the team and relationships aren't forming, and vice versa the other way. So I think you can keep that staleness away in various ways. Obviously, innovation from us in terms of the team, training, everything, loads of team building stuff and different things you can do to make sure the players aren't coming into the same environment.
And you finished above Liverpool 2 seasons ago. How difficult in a PSR world is it for teams like you, Aston Villa, this season, when you get there, to actually stay there?
Well, that's the challenge for us, and it isn't easy, as you say, under a PSR world. Everything is different and will continue to be different for a period of time for us. So it's about being as smart as we can with anything that we do.
Thanks, Kieran. Martin, to finish.
Along those lines, Eddie, has it been difficult when you weren't able to strengthen the last 2 windows?
I think that of course there was a want from us to do so, especially in the summer, where we saw that was a couple of players that we felt could have made a difference in different positions, but it didn't happen. And the other side is we lost, although we'd never had Yankuba Minte, we lost with him and Elliott 2 key players for us. And so it's not just the lack of incomings, it's losing 2 talented young guys as well. So, but that goes with the territory, and we just have to adapt to make the best of the situation. And I still believe in the squad we have. The squad we have is a very good squad. It's our job to do better with it.
And finally, is the not scoring worrying you? Is it something you take home with you?
You always take it home with you. I can't lie and say I close the door and everything's forgotten, and then I step out and no, you live it every second. You take it, of course, you take it home with you. But I'm confident in the players. I'm confident in our method of work. I've got no doubts we will refine our touch.